Welcome to Impossible Bodies.
Hi everybody, welcome at our second event of tonight. What should the future be like and how can we use music to get there? Tonight we're going to have a talk with three artists working towards alternative futures, both musically and non-musically. We are so happy to have with us Moor Mother and Hyperstition Duo. And I also want to introduce our host of tonight, Surya Nahumury, which is the moderator of this talk. And she will introduce you to the panelists.
So I'm going to introduce you to three great artists. First is Camae Ayewa, also known as Moor Mother. She's a poet, visual artist, musician, activist, Philly-based, but definitely a time traveler. Then we have Flora Parkins and Keegan from Hyperstition Duo. Flora Parkins is a drummer and DJ who emphasizes polyrhythm and experimentalism. And Keegan is a guitarist and electronics explorer with interests in deconstructive electronics. So it's an honor to have this conversation with y'all. And we are not alone. We also have an online audience. I'd like to welcome you too. And if you have any questions, our audience, you don't have to wait after the talk. You can send them through the Q&A button, and then you will be linked to Vimeo, and then you can send your questions. I cannot guarantee you that you will get answers, but I like to encourage you to try. So let's start. I just gave an introduction of y'all, and as you may notice, I like some extraness. So that's why I like to ask you to introduce you in a different way, to introduce yourself. And we will start with the following sentences. If you'd really know me, then you would know that ... Okay, so maybe I can start so that you get the feeling of it. If you really know me, you would know that I am from Amsterdam Southeast, the Bijlmer, very proud to be in the best part of Amsterdam. And I love to work with children, and I'm also a coach and mentor, and that's what inspires me. So let's go to Alex.
If you really knew me, you'd know that I have an irrational fear of bananas. And you summed it up quite well. I also, enjoy, taking political exploration into filmmaking is something that I'm hoping to develop alongside music practice more and more.
Right. Thank you. I feel like I really know you now.
Yeah.
Flora?
If you really knew me, you'd know that 10 years ago I volunteered for a period of time in an Italian art monastery with a hurdy-gurdy player and a tap dancer. There was a group of people that did choral vocals in the monastery back then, which has kind of come full circle this year as I've started making my own choral vocal compositions and exploring making music with my voice for the first time. So
Nice.
you have access to who I truly am.
Nice. Thank you. Camae.
If you knew me, you would know that I'm a big fan of LeBron James.
Nice. Okay, thank you. So, well, you all are really experienced as performers, as musicians, and you're well known in the music scene. But what we're going to do now is go back, way back in time. And I wonder what moved you or what made you enter this music scene. And I would like to start with Camae because you also mentioned LeBron James. I know that you played basketball before. So what made your decision to go in the music scene?
I was never really good at school. So you had to play basketball, you had to have good grades, you know. So basketball was always my dream, but I didn't really do homework and things like that in school. So I didn't get to play for like a year. And then because of that, that kind of led me to the dark path of arts and music, you know, stuff like that.
Okay, you call it a dark path. Why is that?
Well, I was trying to be funny, but also it's just like basketball is healthier than being a musician or an artist. You know, you are, you know, taking care of your body, watching how you eat, getting good sleep, you know. Yeah, it's pretty normal to be an athlete, you know. It's a little weird to get into music and art.
Okay. And was it like a big transition also for you?
Well, and I mean, I guess it was dark because I wanted to play basketball. So then I just got to fill my time with being idle. And that's never good sometimes when you're a teenager, you know? So, yeah. So, yeah, I just really got into music. I found out about Bob Marley. So I went down that path, you know?
Nice. Okay. Thank you so much. Then, Hyperstition Duo, how did you go on the dark path of arts?
Yeah, so I guess we've both played music in different ways since we were really young, but we met 10 years ago we went to the same university in Sheffield and started a band there that kind of aligned a lot of our interests in where we were at in our lives at that point. And yeah, the things we explored in the band and where that took us in the kind of DIY music scene that we became a part of in the north of England, just exposed us to a lot of, kind of just linked with a lot of parts of our lives and took us in this direction that has informed a lot of the music we've made together since then.
You mean Blood Sports, right? The band Blood Sports. Okay. Okay, nice. And well, now you're Hyperstition Duo. You're not in Blood Sports anymore. And why is what happened?
We were both going through a lot of change in our lives in 2017, and part of that, it felt like part of what was needed in that situation was like a change of location and just new opportunities and new experiences to like help us deal with or process a lot of the things that were going on at the time. So we knew a lot of people in London, and my partner was living in London, and so the music scene's not exactly bad here. So we thought it would be useful to us at that time to move here, and because that change was only really happening for the two of us, and the other member of Bloodsport was really grounded in Sheffield and the local scene there. He decided to stay at home, and with that change, we just started assessing things we were doing musically and thought a new project made more sense to try and express some of those ideas we were having.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, because what I find really intriguing in your work is that there are so many electronic sounds that I've never heard before, and it's like when I listen to your like a live set, but I listen to it the next time, I hear new things, and it's like a real experience. And the same goes for Moor Mother. There are really many happenings in your work. Like you have really sharp lyrics and poetry. Like in Creation Myth, you refer to the Memphis riots in 1866 and the Red Summer in 1919, which were some of the many massacres on Black people throughout history. And I wonder, like, my question is, with what intentions do you create your work? And it's to all of you, but we'll start with Camae.
Each sound or each soundscape or track has a different intention. I don't know what that noise is, but it's kind of cool. So I say for Creation Myth, that's like a great example, is that, well, my intention first with creating the soundscape was to create like, what did the beginning of the world sound like? I guess an example would be, people say like the Big Bang, So I was like, okay, what does that sound like? What are the first, from the first sound to the last one? So then that was the soundscape. And then lyrically, I wanted to kind of travel throughout the race riots, all the race riots that I could find. I didn't really have a cutoff point. I just started at 1860, and then just moved my way up till, I guess I got to Ferguson, and then that was it. So yeah, it's research. You got to know about these things in order to write about it. So
yeah,
I learned as much as I could, and then just applied it, and it just came together.
Yeah, because what I experienced when I listened to your work is that it's really educative and you create awareness, but it's also like you're reliving moments. And I wonder, why is that important for you to create awareness?
Well, for one, many people do not learn about these things. The tellers or writers of history pick and choose whatever horrific, thing that has happened throughout time and place importance on things like this, So it's just about finding out what's important to you, what resonates to you. It's not like I'm forcefully trying to bring awareness, in this kind of way. It's what I'm researching and what strikes me to tell the story of, There's so many stories, I hope that answers your question. I have a tendency to forget the question right away, So
it's perfect.
Okay, thank you.
No, it is. Yes. Okay, so there are different intentions, and it depends on the context and which song or work you're making. And what about you, Hyperstition Duo? Is that the same for you? Does it depend on what you're feeling or the context? What is your intention?
Yeah, so I think, when we started Hyperstition Duo, it was actually the intention of starting the project was to try and translate a lot of the political ideas we were finding really inspiring and urgent at the time into sound in a way, I think, similar to something Camae said, where it's about thinking what these historical or would these moments sound like that maybe can't easily kind of articulate. And I think, yeah, as Alex mentioned, just in 2017 when we started the band, we were going through a lot of change, personal change. It was around the time when I started to transition personally. I think we were just deconstructing a lot of things in our lives, and also trying to think forward to a future that we'd want to see and be able to contribute to musically. With our music, create a space where it might, the sounds that we were making, the musical language we were creating together might inspire people to, or like kind of lead people to rethink some of the assumptions or the kind of boundaries of what is possible or what you might expect from the future. I think that we kind of started the project with that intention, and different songs we've written and this latest EP have quite specific, I guess, political, intentions behind them, but in a slightly more abstract way, where it's trying to bring sound to these. Yeah.
Exactly, because you are known for being critical on capitalism, and your work is actually anti-capitalism. I wonder, like, how do you involve that in your work? Because yeah, of course I hear many sounds, but like for someone who is not in the electronical world, how do you involve it? How can we, okay, tell me more about that, Alex.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, as Flora kind of briefly mentioned, I guess we're trying to articulate a lot of these ideas we've been inspired by in a way that is musical. So it can be slightly abstract, but I guess we're quite big proponents of like using concepts in music, and maybe music being a springboard for people to explore ideas that are suggested through the music. So whilst we're not like we're not a lyric based band and we're not shouting for the end of capitalism, but we might try and create sounds that suggest we're trying to bring that about in some way. Whether that's successful is up to people's interpretation, but yeah, I think there's a level of abstraction, but also because we hope to be conceptual, and maybe through like our song titles or like how we talk about ourselves around the music, it can help people like pull out some ideas and maybe bring up some strange terms they haven't interacted with before, and then use that as like a vector to then go off in their own directions and like self-educate about these ideas.
One like specific way as well that in our songwriting is trying to disrupt like linear kind of song structures, I guess, and not suggest that there's this kind of, I guess, like narrative that I think everyone like buys into, particularly with capitalism, where things are always going to get better, and if you just get the right job and settle down at the right time and conform to these social assumptions, then you'll end up having a happy life, and everything will be great. Especially in the climate crisis and just all these other social crises that we're undergoing, and the fact that these like historical narratives that we're not reckoning with or taught about properly are causing so much contemporary tensions. I think it's kind of trying to speak to those things as well, by kind of showing that things aren't necessarily straightforward or kind of as you would expect from what we've.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, because right now we're at the Future Shock program, so I guess we're talking about the future. And Camae, in your work, I think it's safe to say that time is something that you don't perceive as linear, and you are playing with time, traveling back and forth into history, but also in the future. And I wonder, why is it useful for you to perceive time like that?
Well, I don't think it's, I mean, yeah, it's my perception, but it's not really a perspective, I guess. I mean, it's a fact that time is a social construct.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a fact that time is used to oppress people, and you know, time is placed upon everything. You know, they talked about capitalism, also religion. You know, so I don't jump in on the timeline from that standpoint. I jump in it before how many communities, you know,
Mm-hmm.
many cultures have different perspectives or different temporalities that do not follow this linear notion.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to, you know, like sometimes it's just like, yeah, well, it's this now, but that doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter if these are the set ways now, you know. It kind of creates this idea that we're stuck, and the only thing that we have, you know, control over is this kind of capitalist safe future, right? You know,
Hmm.
so it's good for me to not cut myself off and include what has came before. And it's also important to me to have stake in the future, you know, and not by going through some kind of guideline, you know, which they tell you to go to college and get married and buy a house and all of that. Like that's your safe timeline, I guess, that they sell. That's the safest one. Um, I think we can, and not, it's not even a think, it's been proven that, you know, we can envision futures for ourselves that we see ourselves equitable and, you know, um, it's not,
Yeah.
you know, separate from our imagination,
Mm-hmm.
creativity, I mean.
Yes, I understand. Thank you, because you also collaborated with Rashida Phillips, a book, Black Quantum Futurism. And you already mentioned that i- imagination, imagine yourself in a different future is important. And well, can you tell me more about your vision on this future that we're talking about?
Well, I can't speak about other futures, you know. The
Hmm.
future has been hacked and co-opted, you know. I can only speak about, you know, my future, you know, in this kind of way. I mean, I know things are not singular and waves are occurring all the time, you know, but there's multiple, you know, realities happening,
Mm.
you know. So you're asking me what I think about my future or the future of what or whom?
That's a great question. Well, I think let's do both. The future on why not? We have time, right? But the future on society, like our society, and the future for yourself or your community. You can decide on which one you answer.
I mean, that's a really like large, very large. Let me try to pinpoint a piece of it and break it off, you know.
I understand.
Um, I guess I could just talk about music because I'm a musician and it's kind of hard for us right now, you
Hmm.
know, to do like we used to.
Hmm.
So the future of that, you know, like gee wizards. I think it's going to take a lot of innovation and not just from, you know, those tech hand people, all the people that plug in all the wires and do all the lighting sets, all those kind of people. I think the artists are going to have to envision also. I think we all need to be at the drawing board, I guess, in that sense, and we need to share these ideas. I feel like right now we're feeling really hopeless, you know, but we got to understand as musicians, you know, those other people, I call them the other people, those lighting people, set people, tech people, all those people like are important to what we're doing. And sometimes it's hard because when we tour, we just come in, they're kind of grumpy. Do we like them? Do they like us? They're doing their thing. You know, we have to like form this kind of connection, and we need to present ideas. Okay. We all are architects of in our field, you know. We're not just like button pushers or whatever, you know. We know a lot, and it's time to tap into what we're not sure that we know. You know, we've been musicians for many years, okay? We need to apply it and design and share. And I think that will be very good for us. That will give us a chance. I'm not counting it out, you know. I'm not like filling out applications to be a butcher or anything or whatever is a good job, you know. I'm going to stay the course, you know, but it's not going to get easier. It's just only going to get harder. So yeah, it's really time, you know, to be architects of the new design of what, you know, music is going to be outside, right? Outside of the capitalism, right? You know, these kind of peer-to-peer, but, you know, not everyone's going to, you know, care, but it's not about that. It's about, you know, throwing the darts out there, seeing who gets hit. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Cool. Thank you. I just came up with that analogy myself. Anyone can use it.
Oh, yeah, because you said sharing, right? And designing. Thank you. Yes.
No problem.
So Alex and Flora, do you also see yourself as architects, like Camae said? Like, I love that metaphor. How do you perceive yourself as artist for this future society?
I think something we've both spoken about, just that I know is particularly close to you, is finding online or creating online systems that exist outside of like the Silicon Valley big tech forums of like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and jokes. But that can be community owned and that work in a non-profit way and that provide ways for kind of, I guess, more direct connection between artists and the people they're trying to communicate with. And definitely, as Camae has said, in the short term, that seems like it's going to be something that's just so important in terms of just being able to, you know, generate income for artists, but also just, I think, more long term, just finding ways of existing online that aren't in these kind of just addictive, kind of manipulative and data harvesting kind of websites that we both just have had pretty bad experiences of in the past and just seem like they're not there for artists really to serve as their primary function. And Alex has some skills in that area and has had some thoughts about that.
I guess it's the fact that a lot of these platforms, in the end, at the end of the day, we are the products that are being sold to people. So it's when you kind of have that revelation that marketing companies are paying social media platforms for our data, and essentially we're working for free for these platforms to then be exploited by them and then be shown adverts that force us to buy things we don't necessarily want, etc. Believe something that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise. It's just quite disheartening when you realise a lot of the way in which you socialise with people, which has historically been such a radical activity where sociality is like at the centre of like political organising, but for that to all be locked in on these platforms that are exploitative, and it doesn't feel like we've really consented to that or had that discussion, and people haven't been given the freedom to choose other options. And it feels like as artists, historically artists are often at the vanguard of trying to direct culture in a different way, whether that's just like culture as music and art or just like human culture in general, just because we're people that try and create a space for ourselves to think up new ideas and use the tools we have at our disposal to express those in ways that are engaging and could be inspiring. So yeah, don't really know how to conclude that, but
okay. And do you also feel like it's your duty as an artist to, you know, reflect on times like Nina Simone? Do you feel responsible to do that? Like,
I think it should be the duty of an artist, and kind of why we've been so deliberately radical with this project is I think we've been quite frustrated with how few acts do that actively, and maybe even have like political dispositions, but are afraid to engage with those in a way that could be useful to other people to educate themselves politically, because maybe they're scared that these like Spotify might not favour them if they're being explicitly anti-capitalist, or they just are worried about how that is a divisive act in itself. But it seems invaluable at times like these when we're going through multiple crises and people don't really know, especially with what's happened this year. No one really knows what's going on or how society is going to be composed when we come out of this. And given the Earth's on fire, something needs to change.
Yeah.
okay, yes. So we're also talking about, you know, being anti-capitalist and the oppression that's going on in the world. We're living in a semi-lockdown world, and what I'm struggling with is like, how do you stay optimistic or hopeful and even motivated or creative if you know what's happening in this world? Like, how do you keep that energy, Camae?
Well, I mean, how do I keep the energy because the world's so bad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the world's always been bad. Bad things are gonna happen. Bad things are gonna happen. If we just put it on the simplest way, people die, and that's sad. You know what I mean? Like, you know, all the bad things. Goodness gracious, there's so many bad things. You know what I mean? Like, where do you want to start? You know, I guess it depends on when do you jump on the timeline of bad things, you know? Because I know a lot of bad things, you know, and it has nothing to do with the 19th century. There's enough bad things. But how do you stay positive? I think it's more of a acknowledgement or awareness of who you are, you know, about your faith. What do you have faith towards? What do you believe that you're producing? You know, like, I don't, you know, but sometimes you get depressed, of course, you know, but usually it's, you know, because maybe you got evicted from your home, or, your partner broke up with you, or you got robbed or something, you know, like all these kind of things can trigger you into a depression. And, you know, what tends to happen, you think about the other bad thing that happens, and then you get into this like hole of feeling depressed, you know. And that happens. We got so many things that are trying to bring fear in your life to make you feel inadequate. All of these things are very powerful techniques that have been used throughout the existence of recorded history. You know, these are not new tactics. You know, there's this thing that I said a couple of days ago. I was just like, not all quarantines are the same. You know, some people can go to the beach every weekend. Some people can't leave their house. Some people, you know, all these situations are so different, you know. So it's hard to make a kind of a general thing, but it really depends on your awareness of your own self and the power of what you can create. Speaking as a musician, you know, making music is not the hard part. I've been privileged to have a studio in my house, you know, so this is my job. So I just go into the studio. Even if I just sit there, I'm in the studio, you know, like what else is there to do? I want to buy a basketball so I can go and, you know, if when no one's around, shoot around.
Yeah.
I like taking walks, you know, I like movement and, you know, practicing to defend myself, you know, sharpening skills like that. Yeah. So,
Okay.
you know.
So
Yeah.
you create moments for yourself where you like
Yeah,
focus.
to get away and things like that, to take breaks. But I think it's just about your own relationship with yourself and the things that you are putting out. That should serve as the motivation.
That's powerful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
What about you, Alex and Flora? Like you create anti-capitalist work. That's like a really large something that you do. But if you know all that's happening, like what Camae already said, generations on generations, this world is fucked. Like, how do you stay optimistic if you know all this?
I think something Camae said that really resonated was knowing where you're jumping on in the timeline of history, and recognizing that there's these kind of circular kind of like issues and tactics that people, you know, in power have used at different points in history to oppress different groups and kind of divide people and scapegoat others, and having that sense of context and critical perspective on what you can do in the moment in time that you're in, and how your position is linked to those other histories, inform your place in those histories. I think that's something we speak about a lot, and I think for our respective positions and the people we are, you know, informs, I guess, the ways we find hope and the kind of the ways we try and do fulfilling work, or work that feels important and tied to those different histories. And I think for me personally, something that I've kind of found in terms of like trans and queer kind of histories and cultures and just people is diving into recent history and deeper history around trans people and how those things haven't been recorded, and just finding communities in the here and now, and also just finding the people that are recording those unwritten histories, or finding examples of cultures and societies and different ways of understanding gender and sexuality from history that show that the challenges faced by trans and queer people in different places around the world. There's precedent of people living happy and fulfilling and kind of diverse lives throughout history in different cultures that hopefully given strength and acknowledgement today. I think that's
Okay, so reflecting on your own position and also looking for recognition in different communities or people that you relate to. Okay. Alex, do you have something to add? Or?
No, kind of similar to what the other guys have been saying, just how important history is in acknowledging that hopelessness never brought about anything positive, and the power of allowing yourself to dream and allowing you just to have emotions and knowledge of the power of collective action, and just how these things which appear hopeless can in fact be turned around if enough people have those positive emotions of a better future. It just seems like perceiving what is happening in the world as an entirely negative thing is a reaction that only serves those who are enforcing the status quo of the world, and as people who want to bring out about the end of capitalism, it seems like being positive about how we do that is the best approach. I know what, if you're hopeless, no one's going to agree with what you say, so.
Okay, so it doesn't have any value to stay hopeless.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something which favours those who want to oppress the people that feel hopeless.
Yeah.
I get you. Thank you. And since you're creating work that is really like a reaction on this world or reflecting on this world, I wonder, how do you want to impact, or how do you want to have an impact with your work on our future? Or do you see any shifts? Do you get feedback from your fans like, hey, since I listened to this, I got this and this and this idea? Like, what feedback do you get? let me start with that.
What up? Okay, I'll go. Feedback. Yeah, I get good feedback. People, if someone likes your music, they're going to say some nice things to you. You're bound to get it. I don't know. I can't remember. I have to look up the messages. But just like, nice work. Thank you. This was inspired by you. I was inspired to do this.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Okay, I see a shy little laugh. Okay.
Oh, a shy laugh. I mean, I guess I don't really do compliments so well, but it's nice when people are able to recognize, especially during this time. It's nice, and we've been able to, as musicians, have a good chance of connecting with our fans more, because we're not on the road all the time, and Bandcamp has allowed this kind of, connection to happen. Like, I started mailing out things to people, like, I didn't even know this world. They give you your address. I have all these people's address, that's crazy to me, but apparently it's been going on. Everyone's been doing it. you know, and I try to put something sweet, something cute in the bag for people. You know, it's just like these pen pals, but it's only one package. Or, you know, some people order several things and you may recognize their name, you know? So
Wow.
you feel like they're your friend or something, but
Mm,
it's just a nice creative connection.
yeah.
So it's really nice.
Nice to hear. What about you, Alex and Flora? Do you also feel connected to your fans? What feedback do you get?
Um,
I guess the most gratifying thing is when people say back to you what your intentions were in the music. For me, that's something that was always so gratifying, where they read into what you've done something you haven't necessarily said explicitly or done explicitly in the music, but you're trying to convey an approach or an idea that is hidden in there in some way, and then someone like on the other side of the world will contact you and say, oh my god, this track, it really, I know that you were thinking of this when you wrote this, or this part in this track really made me think of this, and then you realize that you were able to translate that idea to that person. That's something really gratifying, and
yeah, definitely.
it's like some of the most magical moments of like engaging with fans or just listeners of your music is when that is achieved so succinctly. So
Yeah, those are great compliments you all get. Like people also get inspired, so you actually put something out there what other people can use, and then we grow something more big and positive. What all started with you. But well, I see where the time is going. It's flying. But I wonder, my last final question to all of you is, how do you want people to remember you when you transition? But how do you want people to remember you? I'll start with you, Alex and Flora.
well, some real deep questions coming out. I guess um, I guess I want to be someone who's known to be principled and to act on their principles and not to compromise those for like personal gain or um, take any shortcuts that would mean I am acting against like firm held beliefs that I claim that I have.
Yeah, and I think yeah, maybe I think yeah, some honesty and being kind of
Radical honesty.
yeah, radically honest is something that in recent years I think I've really valued in others, and just I guess have tried to reciprocate myself. And I think in just the more challenging over the last few years, and with some of them, yeah, more personal changes I've been going through, I think I've tried to be transparent and open about those things in a way that hopefully can help others that have had similar experiences, and or just at least provide that documentation of these human experiences that I'm sure are shared somewhere in the world. So I think that's something I'd like to leave through my life.
Okay. And like as a duo, do you like how do you want people to remember your work and you as a duo?
Both those things combined.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great answer. I understand.
Yeah, yeah, maybe something musical is like that we have each tried to push each other to explore, yeah, what we can do with our instruments to the furthest of our abilities, and like think through the different possibilities of our instruments to the fullest extent.
Nice. Okay, thank you so much. Camae, how do you want people
Uh,
to remember you?
Well, that that I was that I was an architect, of sound, that I cursed many people. I created this haunting of the truth, you know, and my work will be an activation of forgotten memory, and it will be a place where people can seek comfort and also see themselves and push themselves, that I've successfully, hacked the code, of speaking directly, not just with words, but with sound. That's the soundscapes that I make act as potions, that are not just poison, but also, healing elixirs, this kind of thing, and that's my music will never die. It will always, that's what I mean by the haunting. It will always be present, So yeah, that's basically what I think off the top of my head, Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you. Well, I wonder if our audience have some questions. I see that we have one question from the audience.
Nice.
Yes, audience.
Great job. You are brave.
You are so brave. You tried. Okay, we'll wait until the question is here. I will read it. Thank you. Those were very personal, political answers. Are we hearing some of your music as well? Well, who wants to answer this?
I have a poem that I'm going to read. There's no music involved.
Yep. So, anonymous questioner, we have a poem from Moor Mother, but if we'll end with that because I think that's really nice to close this conversation. If there are no more questions, maybe you have something you want to say before I end this.
Who?
Or maybe not. Flora, Alex, or you, Camae?
I like to say to everyone, Alex, did you want to go, Flora? Or okay.
Oh, no,
okay.
No. You
I was just going to say to people, it's okay to cry a lot. And, put the pencil in your hand, get the paper, try to write out a new vision for the future every day if you can. I'm sure because of the lockdown, stealing maybe is easier. So steal some pencils, some paper, and just write, and if you're able, get a new journal. Okay, those are my tips for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Camae. Flora?
I think we just second everything Camae said.
Tips. Yeah. Try and identify every plant near where you live and see if one's edible, because you might be able to eat it. And that's
well, I would you are funny. Well, those are really thank you for all these tips. I want to thank you for especially Flora, Alex, and Camae for having this conversation, for being open and sharing all your ideas and thoughts on our future. And I like to thank you a lot again because we haven't met before, but I really feel like we're connected. Or it's online, but it's nice. It's
We're
okay.
friends. We're friends. Okay. I'll hit you up when I get to Amsterdam. All right.
Okay, you come to the best part of Amsterdam, the Belmer.
Oh, I'm ready. I believe I will contact you. I have your email address.
That's so nice. I'm happy to welcome you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll end with a great poem of Moor Mother.
Okay.
And after that, we have a light set of Hyperstition Duo. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Do I just? Okay, just go. Here's a poem. Have mercy. Gather roses, protect it, lay them around your mother, the first wonder of the world. Have mercy. Go roll down to Jordan, go pray at the mountain. Taste the flesh, drink the wine of her voice. Say her name. Deep down in your belly, have mercy and remember. The breathing, the labor, the weight, the hands, the waiting, the pushing, the pulling. And that's it. Thank you very much. Everyone have a great time and enjoy the performance. Thank you.